In my opinion, there's not a show that's been better than Stranger Things so far in my lifetime, but out of the shows that I've watched, there's been a lot of shows that have been on that level or near that level of Stranger Things. And keep in mind, these are only shows that I've watched, so these are my top 5 most underrated shows that I've ever watched. They all have great storylines, great acting, and the reason that they aren't talked about a lot is either because they're older and just didn't hit mainstream, or they might have had one bad season, or a hole in the storyline. But every single one of these shows I'm about to mention, guys, have at least 4 good seasons, and that's why I put them on this list, because I highly recommend every single person that watches this video to watch these TV shows, because they're that good. I binged every single one of these shows I'm about to mention, so I highly recommend all of them. But before we get into it, guys, make sure to drop a like on the video, subscribe, turn on notifications, and also I made a new Discord, so if you want to join that, I'm active in there every single day. Link in description. I also have a Patreon. I'll be releasing exclusive content over there, and all my socials and everything down in the description as well. So without further ado, let me talk about my top 5 most underrated TV shows of all time. For the first show that I want to talk about, it's called Lost. It's a drama TV series that aired on ABC from September 22nd, 2004 to May 23rd, 2010. Over 121 episodes of, in my opinion, top tier television. The show contains elements of the genres supernatural and science fiction. It also follows the survivors of a commercial jet airliner flying between Sydney, Australia and Los Angeles, California. After the plane crashes on a mysterious island somewhere in the South Pacific Ocean, it all goes downhill from there. The episodes typically feature a primary storyline set on the island that was cursed and had some weird things going on around it. The people who crashed and floated onto the island have to overcome so many obstacles and have to do everything necessary to survive on the island with very little resources. If you want to be on the edge of your seat, follow romantic storylines, and get the perfect amount of comedy, Lost is 100% the show for you. When I first watched it, I couldn't believe that I never heard of it before. The only downsides, which I don't really agree with, but people will tell you that the ending is not good or it doesn't make sense, but personally, I loved the ending and I thought it made perfect sense. So don't let 1 or 2 people prevent you from watching one of the most intense, yet greatest TV shows of all time. Moving on to the next show that I have on my list, which is once again in no particular order, is The 100. It's often underrated on most lists, mainly because of the last 1 or 2 seasons. But like I said, there's at least 5 seasons in The 100 that I highly recommend, and everyone who appreciates film needs to watch it. Don't let a bad season or an episode prevent you from witnessing one of these shows, please. Every single one of these shows that I mentioned, I binge watched within 2 weeks, and that's how good they were. Anyways, back to the topic. The 100 is based in a post-apocalyptic world, and it premiered on March 19th, 2014, and didn't end until September 30th, 2020. The post-apocalyptic survivors were on a space habitat and returned to Earth after nearly a century following a nuclear apocalypse. The first people who were sent to Earth were these juvenile delinquents who encountered descendants of the survivors from the nuclear disaster on the ground. They sent the juvenile delinquents because they wanted to see if it was possible to survive on Earth. Once they encountered the descendants of the survivors of the nuclear disaster, that just gets crazy. You can watch that storyline unfold when you watch it, because trust me, that storyline in itself will keep you on the edge of your seat. The acting in this show I thought was very good and was definitely worth mentioning. Overall, such a great story and is 100% worth the watch. Next up is a more relaxing yet still intriguing show called Psych. This is by far the most underrated show on this list in my opinion, only because I never hear anyone talk about it or have it in their list of underrated TV shows. Psych is a TV series that premiered on July 7th, 2006, and it didn't end until June 25th, 2013. It stars James Roday as Sean Spencer, who's a young crime consultant for the Santa Barbara Police Department. And he has, quote, heightened observational skills. To put it simply, Sean Spencer has an insane memory that allows him to convince people that he solves cases with psychic abilities. James Roday plays Sean so well. He has the perfect amount of seriousness, but also is amazing with his comedic timing. Him and Corbin Burnson, who plays his father, have amazing chemistry throughout the whole show as well. The actors in the show really make it for what it is, and as soon as I started watching it, I was hooked. It's such a good show that guarantees you laughs and entertainment, and I highly recommend. Second to last on my list, we have The Boys on Amazon Prime. This show has not yet finished, but oh my gosh, do you need to watch it. It's a show about superhumans that portray themselves as superheroes, but are really the villains. The name of the show represents several people, but mainly Butcher, who is played by Carl Urban, and is the leader of the boys and a former SAS operative who distrusts all of the supes, as they call them. He particularly hates Homelander because he believes he is responsible for the disappearance of his wife. The Boys is also represented by Huey, who is played by Jack Quaid, and he is a civilian tech specialist who joins the Boys after, well, you'll see. These two find themselves eventually trying to take down the superhumans, but mainly focusing on Homelander, who is the leader of the villains of the show. Homelander is portrayed by Anthony Starr, who by the way is an incredible actor because he made me hate him. I will say though, if you don't like blood or violence, this is definitely not the show for you because there's tons of gore, but I personally loved it. It's a mix of crime, drama, romance, and thriller that really makes the show really worth watching. For the last show on my list, but certainly not least, is Ozarks. Ending it off with another very stressful thriller, but I gotta say, it was so fun to watch. The series premiered on July 21st, 2017, and it ended on April 29th, 2022. It stars Jason Bateman as the lead actor and the dad of the show, so right there should let you know that this is a banger and 100% a must watch. It's about a married couple who moved their family to the Lake of the Ozarks for money laundering. The cool thing about the series is that Bateman, who's the lead actor, is also the lead director and the executive producer, so it's just a masterpiece. Once they move to the Ozarks to money launder, they get tied up with some very dangerous people and it gets super scary for them and their kids. They do some things and witness some crimes that they never imagined seeing or doing in a million years. As they were a regular family from the suburbs, but as time goes on, they toughen up to their environment that they put themselves in. And eventually things go down that you'll witness when you watch. Overall, such a good watch with very good actors, so you will not regret turning it on. Okay, now that the video and the ranking is over, I will say my favorite TV show on this list was Lost, but I will say, on top of that, I recommend the most Psych, because I feel like that's the most least talked about TV show on this list. Whenever I watch Psych, guys, it was like watching a crime show that I was really attached to, that had a love story that I was really into, like seeing that love story develop over so many seasons, and it also had the perfect amount of comedy in it. Psych, I could rewatch it. That's a show that I could rewatch. I can't rewatch a lot of shows. I can rewatch Stranger Things, Breaking Bad, maybe Lost, but Psych I could rewatch any day of the week. To me, that's like The Office. Like, my brother loves The Office. He loves rewatching The Office. I love rewatching Psych. I love Psych so dang much. I know The Boys isn't that underrated because it's on Amazon Prime. It just released a new season, but I feel like a lot of people don't know about it because it's on Prime, and a lot of people are just Netflix users, especially if they're just starting to watch TV shows. So I put that on this list. The 100 is fantastic. I mean, there was one bad season, and I'm not going to name which season that was, but the acting in that show was incredible. I loved certain characters. That it was just it was a crazy storyline, wild storyline. Whoever wrote that show, oh my god, bravo to them. And then Ozarks is a show that I loved, honestly. I mean, it's still, I'm pretty sure there's still going to be another season 5, maybe not. But the thrill and the stress in Ozarks, if you don't like being stressed, don't watch Ozarks. But if you love stressful shows that keep you on the edge of your seat, Ozark is definitely the show for you. That's one show that, wow, I watched with my brother, and every single time we watched an episode, it was just like glued to the screen, never took our eyes off. So I highly recommend every single one of these TV shows to you guys. But I appreciate you guys watching this video. If you want to join my Discord, once again, make sure to check the description. And yeah, guys, I appreciate all of the support. My Patreon, the exclusive content that I'm going to be putting over there, guys, is I want to be reacting to like entire movies over there and putting that content over there as well. I'm going to be putting my theories over there. I have a whole entire 2.5 page TikTok packet of my tips and growth tips to grow on TikTok. I put that over on my Patreon. It's just $2.50 to join. If you don't want any of the information, it's, you know, a way to support me. But if you don't want to, that's fine. Totally fine. Watching the video is more than enough. Subscribing to the channel is more than enough. Liking the video is more than enough. So I appreciate your love and support, guys. Make sure you have a great rest of your day, and I will see you guys in the next one. Peace out.